Good morning. Morning, folks. Hope you're well. Hope you had a good weekend. James Leon Silver. Hope everybody's well. A little quick thing. I have to do a quick stream this morning. I'm going to apologize in advance. As you guys know, what's happening on the back end. It's getting very busy right now. So there may be times where, for example, on Thursday morning, I can't stream, but I'll try to do a US stream on Thursday. I just may not be around as much as you probably told them, seen from the last, 2-3 weeks. My plan is not only am I doing the business side of things, I'm also doing the personal trading side of things, where there's just a lot of things on with the idea being once we finally relaunch a Simplicity Trading, I can kind of focus on my trading purely, focus on helping you guys and just going from there. So again, apologies in advance. I will not be around as much, certainly for the next month or so. I will try to do my stream every morning, but there may be times where, I've got something to go to. So just be aware and just bear with me. Just bear with me. It's all for making your guys' experience a little bit better, trying to organizing, guest people coming on to stream, etc. It takes a bit of work. So just bear with me. Just bear with me. Morning, Mira. Morning, Dill. Okay, so as I said, I've got to do a relatively quick stream this morning. Thankfully, there's not much to look at. And let's get into it. Let's get into the markets, shall we? And as I said, hope everybody had a good weekend. Okay, so we are kind of doing what we thought. We did break through this daily anchor here on Friday, was it? I think it was Friday. Well, yeah, it must have been Friday. Closed quite well, albeit not on a massive amount of volume, which we would probably like to see a little bit more volume on that break of that kind of key anchor. But I think I'm going to maintain my bias of, certainly I think we get up to here. Not certainly is a bad word, but I think we come and test this previous anchor as well. But I still think that we get up to this point here, around that 200, around this potentially channel trend line that we're getting into. Not something I massively like to look at, but something that we could possibly think about. And I do think that there's possibly some upward movement to come into the stocks. Again, we have to be aware that we are still in a downtrend. We have to be aware of that. Yes, pullbacks happen. This pullback does have some strength to it. Okay, but also the pullback had some strength to it here, right? Creating that potential ABC. So this is clearly a very big level for me right now. Now, if we end up doing this, right, this becomes a very clear level or a very key level, because this for me is the kind of change in sentiment area as we go within this channel corrective. So I think we get up there. It certainly is a bit more risk on today, but be aware we still are in pullback. So 4 hour looks good, and I think we make our way up here. So if you're looking intraday as you were on Friday, looking at selling those risk off assets against the risk on, still makes sense. Still makes sense. It's not massively extended. A little bit of positivity coming into the markets, but I still think it's pullback. So let's see. Dollar. The dollar. Dollar's getting negative reaction probably because of that risk-on sentiment for me. Dollar acting as a safe haven asset, that flight to cash. Yes, we still are in pullback territory. I still think my bias is continuation, albeit it's not as confident I was in that certainly the start of last week, before this particular bar, I would say. But waiting for that reason to go long on this daily chart would make sense, but until you get that, dollar looks short. Yeah, okay, London's opening up in about 25 minutes. But dollar for me, the hourly looks healthy, the 30-minute looks healthy, the 4 hour looks pretty healthy to the downside. And continuing with this at the moment corrective would certainly make sense. So again, this doesn't have to happen. This absolutely does not have to happen. And I'm not going to call that until I see something properly on this daily. Why I'm saying this could be pullback is because we have come from this and because we're coming from this. So it's the path of least resistance. But until I see that, and if the stocks decide to potentially finish that corrective, which there's not enough evidence of that just yet, you could see the dollar to continue to come off. So I'd be pretty happy looking at dollar shorts potentially against the Aussie, potentially against the CAD, potentially against the Kiwi. Again, putting those odds in your favor for going with that trend. So yeah, I think that would be my bias right now would be continued dollar shorts until we get a real reason to possibly continue that trend. Okay, watch this today. Euro yen, I'm into trade. I've just been triggered here on this 4-hour chart. I like this. My gut liked this. I talked about this on Friday. Actually, you know, as the day continued, or Friday continued, it started to look a little bit better as we came down for that additional reload. The issue with this is obviously, are we within this potential corrective? I wouldn't say it's, I mean, we could say it's a potential rising wedge. Okay, so that's the issue with it. But I just like where we are in the market. There's obviously going to be a bullish scenario and bearish scenario for every single trade we're in. We have to look at that. But for my confluence, what I can see and what I like about it is we're potentially in this. I've said potentially a lot today. We are possibly in this impulse, loss of momentum, harder reset continuation. So, you know, yes, okay, we could look at this as a pullback for a drop down. Yes, okay, we can look at that. But if we look at price action here, right, and compare it to this, which for me, if we are getting this, I wouldn't be taking this long. Okay, yes, okay, we're looking at potential ABC there as well, but I'm just talking about what price action looks like within this leg compared to this leg. You know, we're getting some dominant candles here. We're getting some rejection. We're getting some continuation. We're getting that risk on, bit more of a risk on sentiment, and we've got our nice context here, our increasing pressure into our key area. You know, and as we push on, then the likelihood of a pullback kind of reduces as we get more and more pulling back into this initial impulse that we are meant to be pulling back from. So Euro yen, I've taken that long. Like as I said, I do actually like that. The Euro's been relatively strong. The yen has obviously been weak, a lot weaker than I would have imagined, certainly with what's going on to the stock market. But Euro yen to the upside, I kind of like. What I've also added in here, obviously from a testing phase, is my previous anchor. So this is the new trade management that I'm testing right now, which I will add obviously with this one. Our stop here is, I think, is about 54 pips instead of 94. Yeah, 54 pips. I did think about this area, but I think because it didn't break these highs, I'll be looking at, you know, if I was looking at this from a bit more aggressive standpoint, my stop would be down there because that is technically the previous swing. I haven't yet decided if basically 100% on how I'm doing this, whether it goes from anchor, purely anchor, or is it a bit of discretion between anchor and swing. But I think in this circumstance, I would put my stop just underneath this previous swing and reduce that risk reward by half, let's say. So that's in, and obviously I'm going to keep getting that data. I'm going through all the trades that I've taken over the past year and a half, I think, just to get a whole bunch of stuff. Then I'll probably forward test it for, you know, a month or two, and maybe relaunch it. And it does look very likely it's going to be modified once we go into simplicity trading. So that's my personal plan. But Euro yen to the upside, I kind of like. I can look at this as a breakout retest. This is on the watch list as well. Head and shoulders in here, push through the area, retest of this area, continuation up. That's what I'm looking at with Euro yen. So breakout in there and potentially a breakout retest. Aussie CAD. Aussie CAD, a counter trend idea. 4-hour does look okay. Again, we had that complex pullback into this area. This is relatively healthy. The issue with this, very similar to, well, not very similar to Euro yen, sorry, but it is a counter trend idea because of the daily chart. Okay, so daily here, because where we've moved from, technically it still is counter trend until we break through this area. So the long bias obviously has some restrictions to it, but I don't mind it. I do like it. I would have liked a little bit more if it breaks now. I would like a little bit more kind of price action within our secondary structure in terms of our cut with handle, because are we considering this 30 to 50%? I think if it does break now, it may put a little bit of a question mark for me. I do think from a technical standpoint, we'll probably hit roughly our 30 there. Let's see if it actually does break. I would prefer, again, to have a slight failure here, push on and then retest. But Aussie CAD, if it does break, it's something we could look at on a potential retest. Morning, Griff, mate. Pound CAD. Pound CAD is a nice idea. Idea that I like, actually. So if obviously we're taking both, if we're taking Aussie CAD and Pound CAD, obviously we're looking at this chart thinking, well, momentum, is this shifting from our latest impulse to the downside? I.e. a very simple price action, hammers here, volume coming in at potentially the end of pullback. This resonates with me, right? Pound CAD to the downside. Oil strength, CAD has been strong, Pound has been indifferent, let's say. 4-hour perspective, you're kind of breaking out from this structure here. You're kind of getting your potential head and shoulders for a breakdown on this area. So again, in terms of ready to move, RTM, this one certainly fits that bill. Pound CAD potential shorts. Got the context here. Context is nice. Cup with handle, first structure, second structure. Need to break through this 200, so hopefully the retest is coming back and giving us that dynamic resistance as well in the form of the 200, in form of the 20, in form of previous support becoming new resistance. This is nice, right? I like Pound CAD shorts. Obviously, we need to wait until this potentially sets up, but everything about that I do kind of like, and it makes sense. It makes sense with where it is on that 4-hour, and you know, if you get onto a decent one, if you pick the right time, if you get a decent trade, there's no reason why this couldn't continue and give us a very good outcome on account of that. So Pound CAD shorts, my favorite on the basket. I've got Euro-Swiss in here as well as a kind of bit more of a hedge play, I would say, against the market falling off a little bit. You know, weekly on this Euro-Swiss, we know that we like, right? We know that we like this. This is obviously quite nice. Daily here, coming from this latest impulse, yes, it's a little bit messy. We make more sense of it on that weekly chart, but it does look recently, and recent price action is suggesting we're in this impulse and in this corrective, or sorry, this correction through time rather than through price. Just not quite ready to break to the downside, if indeed it does, quite yet. As I said, I'm not a massive fan of this trade at the moment, but I don't know what's going to happen in the future with the stock market. We could come off today. We don't know. So the context is good, right? The context is good. And that could have actually, when did that form? That must have formed Friday. That could have actually been an aggressive entry in there. Cup with handle, ABC, 200 rejection, volume increasing as we go into it. Yeah, that could have been an aggressive entry actually. Euro-Swiss shorts. Anyway, I'm not in that. So looking at this come down here, obviously gives us another reload, cup with handle, first structure, second structure, third structure, cup with handle within a cup with handle to break to the downside. You know, my gut, as I said, my gut is telling me that I shouldn't be taking this short, but it's the euro against the Swiss, slightly different. The technicals, again, I always got to go with what I'm seeing, not what I think. And what I'm seeing is a nice setup. And the fact that it's the euro against the Swiss and not against the yen does make a bit of a difference to me. So, yeah, I'm going to continue to watch for that. Not something for today, obviously. But if we do get a little bit of pullback action, this would look pretty good. As long as we don't break above these highs for potential shorts in Euro-Swiss. And again, that weekly, just, you know, that weekly makes up your mind of it, doesn't it? Morning, evening star here, should I say. Fair enough, we've not got the required volume for it, but from price action point of view, it is pretty nice. So 4-hour, when did this come? When did this bar come? 27 at 8. I don't know if that's UAE time. Anyway, if I'd sawn that at that point in time, that would have been an aggressive entry. Kind of missed that. And again, I'm doing all this again for the next month so that I can focus 100% on my trading and not have to worry about all this bloody business side of things. I'm first and foremost a trader. But Euro-Swiss short does look nice. And if you're going to ask me, well, Ryan, why don't you take it now, right? If you've missed it and it's roughly around your entry, it's just that I don't like to do that, because if I did do that and it came up and stopped me out, again, I would probably be psychologically a little bit more annoyed at that. So when I see something, I usually like to enter, unless obviously you've got a setup and that potentially accumulates for 4 hours over Asia. When I'm sleeping and I see it in the morning, that's a difference. But when we've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 28 hours of price action after that catalyst, it's just not something that I personally like to do. I'm not saying that you can't do it. Just for me personally, I'm not a massive fan of doing that. So EURUSD to the downside certainly has a premise. But let's see. All right, guys, unfortunately, as I said, I've got to hop off. I've got a meeting in 10 minutes. For those who joined a little bit later, Griffey, etc., just bear with me over the next month. I might be a little bit busy. Thursday, I won't be streaming in the morning. I'll stream in the afternoon, but I've just got a lot of things happening behind the scenes right now. With the goal being, after it's done, it's bloody done, and I can focus on trading. And also, last thing, NFP on Friday. Won't be giving away a 50K, but I will be giving away that $200 prize. Martin, I don't know if Martin's here. Still waiting on the free 50. So let me know if you want to place that trade at any point. And yeah, apologies, guys. I have to apologize, but it'll get better. I won't be in as much as a rush all the time. Okay, guys, have a great day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Peace.